Alright guys, welcome to the first video for our precious Discord community in 2023. I woke up this morning feeling super inspired, super clear, have already been putting in the crazy hours in VCV and of course in the hardware modular rack. But I was saying to someone yesterday that I'm not really using the hardware at the moment. It's just VCV rack is so quick, it's so easy to structure. Patches are recallable because obviously you make these great patches in the hardware, and then if you touch something or the power goes off or the sequencer restarts or the gate goes off, you kind of lose your patch, and that's immensely stressful for me because I like to really sit with these patches and develop them slowly. So the idea of only being able to have one patch patched in the hardware is just too much for me right now. So almost exclusively the new album and all the new tracks are being made with VCV as a sound source for every chord, every drum, every rhythm, everything. And it's incredible to me and constantly astounding to me that I'm able to use ultimately a free program that I've spent no money on, and it is by far the most interesting and produces the best results of anything in my studio. Alright, so no more sales pitches on VCV, but if you're not into it, hopefully these series of videos that I'll be posting on the Discord will inspire you to get into it. Another note is that I'm doing a little bit of an experiment here, which is effectively open sourcing all the patches on the album. Alright, so this patch that I'm going to go into first, and I'm doing two today, both patches in fact are on the album. And I'm taking a little bit of a risk, but it's also very interesting to me to see what happens if I send these patches out before I've even finished the tracks, and hoping that we'll have a fascinating musical and modular conversation about them. You guys can tweak the patches, you can show me ideas or innovations or angles that I haven't seen, perhaps modal interchanges or adding additional voices, and I'm very curious to see how this sort of musical conversation goes. All right, I will ask you though that these patches are only for experimentation. You can take them, tweak them, you can of course use them as inspiration to build your own patches, and you can even follow my signal flow, but please do not use my patches and release them commercially because well, I'm not really sure how the copyright would work, but it's just uncool. Okay, so yeah, massive experiment here, and hopefully there'll be some interesting results by sharing all of these patches with you guys. Now, a concept that I'm going to look at in both patches that we're going to do today is using modulation that's happening on a sound, either to the oscillator, for example, modulating FM or modulating timbre, modulating the wavetable, modulating some core component of the oscillator, or even something like a delay. So just having a delay circuit which is coming on and turning off, or changing the delay time, or introducing reverb, any parameter automation that is happening, but it's happening in a semi-generative, so unpredictable way. It should even be surprising me, and I'm making the patch. And it's also happening in a rhythmic way, and that rhythm is being deduced as a derivative of the overall gate time. Okay, so that is what I'm all about at the moment in terms of sound design. I know that may sound a little bit confusing, so let's just jump in and have an actual look at it. All right, so voice 1 in this, and there's only really one melodic voice, it's coming from the FM op. You can see I've got the standard subtractive voice. In other words, FM op's coming into a VCA. I'm controlling that VCA with an envelope, and then it's coming into a filter, and I'm controlling that filter with a much shorter envelope. The gate time is coming off the 8-step trigger sequencer. You can see row 1 is telling that VCA when to open, and it's also triggering the filter envelope. Okay, and if I unmute it, it's going to sound like this. Okay, so you can see that gate time correlating with the hits in the melody. Okay, now straight to the point. By the way, there's no notes in this melody right now. It's just C. This track's in C, and the oscillator is tuned to C, so it's just sort of droning on the root note. All right, but I've got a melody waiting that I'm going to introduce in a second. But before we look at the melody, let's look at some of the effects processing. Okay, so what's happening here is I've got this gate running the melody, and then I'm sending that gate out into a Bernoulli gate, which is basically a probability machine. It's coming into this input, and based on the probability switch over here, there's a certain probability that it's going to come out the high gate out of output A or output B. If it was all the way to the right, it's always going to come out of output B. If it's all the way to the left, it's always going to come out of output A. Over here, it's like 40% chance that it will come out of output A. When it does, it opens a gate, which opens a VCA, which sends a copy of this voice, which comes out of the last point of the signal chain, which in this case is the filter, and it sends the copy of that voice into the delay. So if I unmute the delay, you'll hear that every time you see this VCA spike, there's a little bit of additional delay being added, and it's not static. It's not just like turning a delay on the send, because the delay is coming in, it's coming out. The envelope that's letting the delay, letting the signal go out to the delay is being opened and closed and choked and opened, and it's creating a very unpredictable sort of semi-random way of having a delay circuit, which is that it's not just on, it's not just off, but it's pulsing on and off, and it's doing it in a rhythmic way, again as a derivative of the gate which is running the total melody. Okay, I love this technique, and when you open it up you can hear even more what that delay is doing. Of course, if I change the delay time, very high feedback, so it takes a while. There we go. I like that sort of bouncy delay, so you can hear it's sort of bouncing back on itself. Okay, so that's the first circuit, and it introduces a concept that I'm going to be looking at in every single patch, which is that there's something happening in modulation or in effects. It's happening in a rhythmic way as a derivative of the total gate time. Okay, and that sounds awesome. Another thing which is happening as a derivative of the total gate time is that I've got this hat. Okay, now you see the decay time is modulating, it's going short, and then occasionally on the hits of that melody, it's opening up the decay time. Now what's happening is, I've got that same Bernoulli gate that's allowing the signal through to the delay, and I've got that same Bernoulli gate coming out to the decay time on the hat. Okay, and you can see, sorry, this is the hat. I've got that same delay, that same gate time coming out to modulate the hat. So if I take that CV port down, you can hear the hat's just playing at a fixed decay time. Now when I open it up, it gets that, again, pulsed, rhythmically unpredictable, semi-generative way of opening up the decay time, and it's also happening every time the delay is introduced. So every time that sound delays, there's also an increase in the decay time of the hi-hat, and that sounds really, really cool. Now, there's my kick. Okay, now this is where the stuff gets really cool. You can see over here that I've got a VCA, and I've got a sequence which is coming into that VCA, and then from the VCA into a quantizer, and then I'm flipping the octave range. Okay, and I've got a sequential switch which is running digital voltage sequences to control the level of voltage that's coming through this VCA. Alright, so if I switch to pattern 1, you're going to get this digital voltage sequencer, and when it's this high, the VCA is going to be about this high, and when it's this high, the VCA is going to be this high. And effectively what I'm doing is creating a melody with a call and response. So I've got one voltage is the call, and another voltage is the response. Okay, let's listen to that. Jump. Love that idea because it's like a call and response melody, and literally I made this patch in about 3.5 minutes yesterday, just trying to show someone what VCB rack was. So really, really, really cool. And it gives me this cascading melody that's going from one voltage to another with almost no work whatsoever. And the other thing I can do is I can have a B sequencer, a B voltage, which will sort of flip it down to like a more grounded, rooted, bass-heavy sequence. Okay, we've got this melody, it's flipping, very expressive. There's lots of slides. And you can really hear that delay working as well. Alright, now when I'm ready, I'm going to flip. And this is almost like the drop melody. Alright, now this is this digital sequencer, and you can see it's basically got no voltage, and then it just jumps up in a little run. And then it goes no voltage and jumps up in a lower run. So it's very, very cool. Quite a moody, serious, brooding sequence. And it creates a beautiful contrast from sequence A. Just again, watch this digital sequencer, and then watch how it's spiking this voltage and how dynamic that jump in melody is. Alright, now let's close. And let's go back to sequence 1. So that's pretty much the patch, guys. Again, you can variate this and play with it endlessly. I love these particular points in the melody, so when I was making this, I was like, I don't want to take it any further and sort of disturb the melody. But I love this idea of switching, so you sort of have like a breakdown. Let's take the hat out. Okay, and you introduce this high melody and you open it up. When you're ready, you switch down and you bring that hat in. Alright guys, so that is patch 1, and more than the patch itself, it's about a patching concept, which is that we have one very simple gate. That gate is running the gate time on a melody, and then we're taking that gate into a Bernoulli gate, which is a probability machine, and a certain probability derivative of that gate is then triggering a whole bunch of things to happen in the patch. Maybe the voice is being sent through to a delay, maybe the FM is modulating, maybe the timbre is changing, maybe the waveform is being changed, maybe pulse width modulation, could be anything. But oh, my battery's low. But something is happening in the sound which is a derivative of the gate, and therefore, because it's based on probability, it's also unpredictable and semi-generative. Okay, that is patch and concept number 1. I'm going to play out for you because I want to show you that I actually never used this module, but it's actually pretty cool. I've actually got the piano roll module, and if I just label this is going to be key change for bass. Alright, key change for bass. So what it's going to do is just change the key of the bass. If I run it, open the filter, you can hear that sawtooth bass in the background. Now we can actually just have some key change variation. Back to the low melody. Oof, good lord. Okay guys, so that is patch 1. Hope you guys enjoy it. I will upload this patch with this video simultaneously to the Discord. I'd love to hear your variations on this patch, and let me know what you think about this idea of open sourcing all the album patches. If you have any other feedback, ideas, comments whatsoever, let's hear them. Also guys, please upload some samples to the Discord. I'd really like to get a sample exchange, but I'm not putting my Primo samples up there until I see some of you guys bite as well. So let's have 2 or 3 sample uploads, and then I'll do my samples. Then I have a couple of producer friends from all over the world that are going to be joining us and also uploading their samples. Hopefully will be a very cool exchange. Let me move on to another patch that I've been working on, similar concept, using gate derivatives to trigger patch automation. In the next patch we take it a little bit deeper and it gets a little bit advanced.